Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Need Some Introduction. In this episode, we'll be breaking down the latest episode, the penultimate episode of Season 2 of Paradise. Joining me for all of these Paradise recap episodes is Darren.
G'day there, Victor. Yeah, we're getting down to the end, aren't we? Last episode next week. Very exciting.
I cannot wait to get your reaction to this episode, given how you reacted last week. And we'll save our reaction till then. Before then, question as to anything else you've been watching that you want to recommend. And of course, one thing that I know we definitely both watched, and a huge success story. You know, every single time they say that the movie business is dead and the Academy Awards just absolutely terrible ratings, one of the worst ever. I think the worst year since the pandemic. So truly terrible ratings this year. And you might say, well, people just don't care about going to movies anymore. And yet, right now in theaters, not only have we had a bunch of pretty successful films play out this year, even things like Send Help has made over $100 million. And that's coming out on video this week, by the way, for anybody who's been curious to see that. It's coming out on Tuesday. And maybe I'll set aside just a slew of things coming out this week. So I might set aside a moment to discuss some of those as well. But in movie theaters, we have a bunch of films that are not IP, the Pixar film Hoppers, which I saw, very entertaining, very great for the family. I don't know if you know anything about this, Darren, but I was completely blind on this film. Did not realize there was a sci-fi twist in this film. But if you haven't watched the trailer, I do recommend Going Cold. It's a lot of fun. It is very funny and it's making good money. And it is not based on a comic book or traditional high budget films we've seen recently. And most importantly of all, of course, this very weekend, Project Hail Mary came out based on a book, but Andy Weir's book. Also, he wrote The Martian, another huge hit from years back. And this film opened in the US with over $80 million. It is the second highest grossing non-sequel original IP film behind only Oppenheimer. And it was tracking to open around $50 million, open to $80 million, which tells you that the audience was definitely selling this film. And I was surprised when I saw this in a theater. This is also going to appeal to families during this holiday period of time. Like a lot of kids are on spring break. My daughter's on spring break next week. And most of the country's on spring break this week. And I think this is going to play like a family film. And this film played like gangbusters. And I do have issues with it. But in general, I really loved watching this. How did you and your family react to this?
Yeah, well, my family couldn't react because I snuck off by myself.
You saw it by yourself? Okay.
I found a little leeway there. It's good to hear about
Same
Hoppers.
Here, by the way.
Same
here.
I haven't heard anything about Hoppers, but I'm a massive fan of Pixar back when every movie was a hit. So it's good to hear that Pixar is back in the sphere of doing great things again. So I'm very interested in seeing that. But yes, Project Hail Mary. Again, I didn't know anything about it. I'd read The Martian, saw The Martian, loved The Martian, but hadn't read this book. I heard a few people complaining that the trailers were giving away some of the secrets of the movie.
Yep.
But I went in pretty blind. Didn't really know what was going to happen.
Same here.
And I was charmed by this film. I thought it was really, really enjoyable. Yeah, I don't know how far we want to go into spoilers in this, but I will say that I have never seen a film that references other films as much as this one.
Yes.
I mean, you could have a list of every space opera film, and it really definitely goes for these references unashamedly. It's not like it's a sneaky, maybe this is like Interstellar, maybe this is like
Sunshine.
A Space Odyssey. Sunshine, I didn't even think about that. Flight of the Navigator. Or I had a whole list of them. The list escapes me right now, but there's so many. But one of the major things I pulled out of this movie was the cinematography was incredible.
Yes.
The visuals were very unique. Gravity is another film. The visuals were really unique, even though it was drawing from other films of this genre. I thought it was really, really inventive, and that was part of the reason that I really enjoyed it. Apart from a major relationship between the character and another character, which is really the heart and the bulk of the whole story, which I was on board. If you're not on board with this relationship, the movie is a fail for you. But I was on board and I thought it was quite charming.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't want to do anything spoiler related, but agree with everything you said. My minor critiques, I think that there's this, we could tell the setup of the story. By the way, don't watch the trailer if you haven't watched it. There are things that are revealed in the trailer I really wouldn't recommend. I went in as blind as possible. And still, just from these very quick snippets that would show during sporting events, even then it was spoiling things, even in these like little 15-second flashes that have been slamming on every single sporting event now on TV. So it's very hard to, even if you stay, even if I avoided the trailer, there's still just very hard to avoid all of the marketing. And even then, giving away things that I didn't want to know. But this is so charming. Ryan Gosling, like weaponizing his charm in the perfect possible way. So great. Great use of music, by the way. I've listened to the music. The needle drops in this are not songs that I'm familiar with, very familiar with, and great needle drops. Everything in the film is really at the highest level. And I'm a huge fan at this point of Lord and Miller. And have they missed? I mean, I remember taking my nephews to go see Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs because they wanted to see it and we saw it in 3D. And, the giant meatballs like flying out of the screens in 3D, like the kind of overt 3D that they really don't do, the unsubtle version of it. And we laughed and laughed about that movie. But the 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street and the Spider-Verse movies, like these guys, and of course the failed Solo movie, which we'll never see that version of it, unfortunately, because probably was good given the rest of their track record. But what an incredible track record these guys have. And their comedy is so good and they are so humane. Here's a story that's about friendship and sacrifice and collaboration and problem solving and science and intelligence, but not in a ham-fisted way. I love that message of the story. As a story, maybe this is like the book, which I have not read, but it goes on too long. There's like multiple endings. I'm like, okay, I definitely started to feel the length of the film, which is long, over 2.5 hours long. And towards the end, I could have done with a lot of that being abbreviated. But the first hour and a half, man, I was totally on board. There's a moment, which I'm not going to spoil here either. It's the moment you're going to know. I'm just going to mention to you. It's when he has a moment. You know what I'm talking about? When he's on the hull of the ship and he's like, I'm having a moment. Yes. I teared up in the movie theater because I was like, this is so beautiful. So, I didn't get the emotional reaction probably when they wanted me to, but I was like tearing up. And by the way, I've had that reaction before. Like when I was watching Interstellar and like some of the visuals there, I'm like, it's so beautiful. And I start crying because of the beauty of it all. And it's so detailed and analog and really beautiful. And by the way, did not know this, but it just goes to the idea that analog filmmaking is so powerful still in this digital era. I didn't know anything about this, but I was totally bought in to the film and then heard an interview with the directors and they are improvising on screen together. There's one other character, once again, being as vague as possible, that Ryan Gosling interacts with in the film. And it's not a special effect. It is a puppet. And they were getting in their earpieces, getting improvisational cues from the directors. They're like, try this. So they are reacting to each other in real time. And the idea, again, that this is analog and that actual artists, actors are improvising with each other, communicating and not able to use language to communicate is amazing. And the set, the actual ship was all built and the walls would tear away. So they used like a computer to map out all the shots ahead of time so that they had the walls that could move so that when the camera has to move, they would pull the wall away. But it's all built. The entire ship was built. The having a moment sequence on the hull was done practically by having like droplets of light dropping onto this surface and then recording it through like a glass pane. And the description of how they were watching this happening on the screen in real time, and that the producer came in, Amy Pascal, came in and saw all these, they called themselves nerds, standing around going, like, oh my God, look at that. It's so beautiful. And like on the set, it looks ridiculous. And she's like, what the hell are these guys doing? but it worked, man. This is an incredible piece of mostly analog filmmaking. And it really, and I'm telling you, you having real sets, having real people on gimbals floating through their version of space. You can tell the difference, man. This stuff does not feel like Marvel CGI. This feels like tactile, and you need that for this type of film, right?
Totally. I couldn't agree more. The one thing that I did find out about this film before I went to see it was that there was special effects, not visual effects. And I was very excited. I mean, you mentioned the word puppet. I was very excited to see how they brought this to life. And it is insanely good. You could really tell that it's all handmade. It's not just visual effects. Like you mentioned, Marvel. I mean, there was no mush in this. It was all serving the story. It was all very beautiful. It's stunning that this movie cost $200 to $250 million. I don't know how they can do that. It's insane. But the way that the puppetry brings forth character is unlike anything that you could recreate in a computer. And it's so obvious and it's so touching. We got to shout out the Australian cinematographer, Greg Fraser, who does the Dune films. And I think he might have done something else recently, which was also kind of a space thing. I can't remember, but he's a bit of a master of light, and those Dune films look iconic as well. So this guy's operating at the top of his game. I was a little bit worried with Ryan Gosling at the start because he's so handsome, but he's also so charming and so quirky and so funny. It's like he's supposed to not have any family or partner in this world. I think that's a bit ridiculous because he's just awesome.
He looks like Ryan Gosling.
He looks like Ryan. I did get a bit annoyed. His glasses hung off his head or hung off his ear, like in this quirky kind of way. It's like, come on, dude. You know how to wear glasses. Come on. But
really quickly, I want to interject there too, that actually is where I think that this might help the film because it'll play more to a younger audience. And by the way, Ryan Gosling's a really good physical comedian. Like, I think the Nice Guys is incredible performance by him, by the way, in that film, right? So I really love him in that mode. But there are times when the camera is he's just looking all goo-goo into the camera, which is, like I said, this will probably work well with, women and younger children because of that tone. But for me, it was a little too mawkish. But I'll accept that because the highs are really high in this movie.
Yeah, and as you said, it is a bit long. There is a couple of different endings that I thought the final kind of button on the film was a bit cheesy, but we'll go with it because it just does so much well that you can forgive it for little parts of it. I really liked Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Scene, I think is the film. She was great as Anatomy of a Fall, yes. Great as kind of a villain, but also it's almost a Sinatra type character from Paradise.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
But she does it with so much heart, and the scene where she sings karaoke was quite beautiful, and she kills it. Absolutely.
Yeah, she sings a Harry Styles song, and wow, that was really, and it's a great scene because not only is it a great musical scene, and she can actually sing, but it's character as well in that, and it's really, really well done.
Totally, yes. She has a heart, even though she's this kind of
she gets to show her heart for 1 minute. Exactly.
European, yeah. A little bit disappointing that Ken Leung was in it, but didn't really have much to do.
Yes, the worst. I hated that, actually. Yeah, I was so excited to see him get. And by the way, not only that they underused him, but they yada yada so much of the science here, even basic stuff like what happened to the crew. Can we explain that some way? Like just some basic explanation. But so yes, but again, these are script issues for sure. But the film overall and the comedy in the film is incredible.
It's really funny, yeah. And I remember reading The Martian, it's all about problem solving. It's all about using the materials you have in this space kind of environment on Mars, and then you have to create batteries and you have to create food and all this stuff. It was a fascinating book, and I think the Ridley Scott movie of The Martian was really fascinating as well. This has got me wanting to read Project Hail Mary because it's such a great story. And you think about space, we've seen every space story, and we've probably seen aspects of this before, but the way that they execute it is it's so enjoyable and so joyful that I kind of didn't want to like it because it was trying to pull on your heartstrings, kind of pushing you this way, trying to make you care about this relationship, but ultimately you really do. I mean, it sells everything. I think it was great.
By the way, I am a big fan of looking at a cinematographer's filmography for two reasons. One, the cinematographer is incredibly important to a movie. And second of all, that it really shows you the taste of the filmmakers that they choose to work together. Like they've been selected by that filmmaker. So the director, I should say, because they're all filmmakers, right? But so to that point, listen to this CV by your countrymate, Greg Fraser, Dune 2, The Batman, which I don't love The Batman, but the visuals are not the problem with that movie for sure. Rogue One, The Creator. Again, don't love The Creator, but no problem with the visuals on that movie. An astonishing looking film. Of course, this one, Zero Dark 30.
Awesome.
Killing Them Softly. Now, again, you have issues with that film. I think it's actually kind of not gotten its due, but again, an incredible looking film. So, and there's more. So, I mean, but what a CV
Let Me In as well.
Let Me In,
Yeah,
which is a great film, great looking film, and also very good film in general. Yeah, quite the career that guy's had. So he's going to get, I was about to say he's going to get a Academy Award nomination for this for sure. He's been nominated, I guess, for the Dunes, probably for Batman as well. So he's probably got quite a few nominations already.
I'm pretty sure he won for one of the Dunes as well.
He might have won. Yeah, it's possible.
And his next film looks like it's one of the Beatles films with Sam Mendes directing.
I'm worried about this. Okay, I'm going to leave. There's so many things coming out this week. I'm going to leave that for the end of the conversation if we have room for it. If not, we'll touch base next week. One thing, maybe I'll just shout out one thing out of this huge list of things that are coming out, because something you might want to sample, since we both like horror. There's a new series coming on Netflix, a binge coming on Thursday called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it, but I love the title. It's a great title. This is from the Duffer Brothers, from the Stranger Things brothers. That's right. Okay.
And I think I've mentioned this to you, that this is the series that is about a wedding, and this woman is marrying into a family, and it's just they're going away for the weekend to have a wedding in the woods, in this very beatific wooded area. And it's not that, and maybe something overtly horrifying happens eventually, but the way the trailer shows it, it's just that everything kind of feels off. So it could just be all in her head, really. And I love this idea that the whole thing could just be like a psychological horror film. Although I think that they're probably pulling their punches. Something very weird is going to happen at some point. Something very bad is going to happen, to quote the title of the project. But very curious to this. It might not work. It might be terrible, but I'm very curious about this. And I like this as a follow-up to the Stranger Things, something that is very much not playing in the same arena, just trying to do like another 80s riff or more teen horror, very different feel, like going for a very hard psychological horror, so I'm very curious about this one. So maybe we can sample it and discuss it next week.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, knowing that it's from the Duffer Brothers, I mean, everybody's going to watch it and have their 2 cents on it, aren't they? I mean, yeah, the one thing I didn't like about Stranger Things is the way that it was pulling so overtly from other films and TV shows of that era. So I wonder if they do the same thing here. Yeah, keen to sample it for sure.
Yeah, we'll give our verdict next week. All right, let's talk about Paradise. Here we are, episode 7. What was the title of this one?
I'm going to say it's the final countdown, just because.
Oh, yes.
Our covers are back.
Of course. Yes. Not only, yes. I'm so excited, by the way. Yes. It was called the final countdown. As soon as I saw that title, I'm like, they better have the song in here. They don't have the song, but they do have the mellow cover, which is, of course, they're right on brand again, baby. Perfect.
Oh my God, it feels like these covers performed just for this TV show. I mean,
so many of them are. I mean, when I looked at season 1, I was like, oh, like what has this person done? And so this is just for the soundtrack.
Oh, that's funny.
By the way, a lot of those just for the soundtrack covers for Pluribus, which I don't think I shouted that out enough when I was covering Pluribus here, but almost all the episodes had these covers, sometimes like in Spanish or Arabic, of like psychedelic music from the 60s. And some of those songs were known commodities. If you look at them on Spotify, they were on albums from a few years back. Some of them were exclusively for Pluribus, but those covers I thought were incredible. That was an incredible soundtrack. So definitely have to circle back and listen to some of that stuff again.
Yeah, you're right. That's amazing. I do love when artists do covers just for the show. It's so fascinating the way they do them. I have found a Paradise Season 2 Hulu soundtrack playlist on Spotify. So I know you were looking for some.
I was,
so I'll have to send this to you.
Yeah, do send it to me because I did not luck out. I mean, this is probably a couple of weeks ago, but do they also have the Elvis covers on that too, or is it just the?
Yeah, they've got the Elvis. Yep, for sure.
All right, nice. Well, very much want to see that. No Elvis covers though, but at least we get that morose the Final Countdown song, which I like to hear. Okay, did you like this more than last week's episode? Question 1.
Did I like it more? Ooh, loaded question. No, I did enjoy it. There's parts of this episode which, why did they even bother? Gary, the mailman, come on. But
yeah, did he need that? Yeah, good point.
I mean, we did need it, and he needed to shoot him dead. That's what we needed, and we didn't get it.
Waiting for that, right? Terry kept getting in the way. Terry almost got shot in the head, by the way.
Seriously, I mean, he spent 3 years thinking about this woman. He spent another year or so trying to find her, and as soon as he finds her and they embrace, she's like, I've got to go talk to this murderer. You can hang back and maybe keep your sniper rifle on him, but I really need to get close to this murderer right now. It's like, oh, okay, I trust you, Terry. Come on.
He did want to. They did want to rescue Bean, make sure he was okay. So I kind of understand that. But yeah, this is. I do like the fact that Xavier is just like, I got a clean shot. I'm gonna kill him, and I like the fact that she's like, murder. That's new. This is the Dan Fogelman, dialogue we get.
Oh, it's so funny. And he just went, she's like, I've got this boy Bean. He's part of the family now. And he just goes with it. He's like, okay, this is the world we live in. I've got some information to drop on you a bit later.
Yeah, I like where he's just like, I hope you still like babies. I got a lot of stories to tell you. She must be thinking, by the way, you can't just say that. She's just like, did you get someone pregnant while I was away?
Yeah. Mine didn't go there.
She's like, are we in a throuple now and I have a baby to raise? What the hell is going on?
And just jumping straight to the end, they're on the train. Bean's on the train. Those two are on the train. I didn't say the baby on the train. We didn't collect the baby.
Yeah, where's the baby? Good point. Yeah, it has to be. Imagine they forgot it. They're like, oh my God, we forgot the baby. Now rewinding all the way to the beginning, it was very sweet to have the continuation from last week where he goes all born on them, as the other leader actually mentions, and doesn't get shot somehow because Terry again throws her body in front of a bullet. Luckily, nobody has an itchy trigger finger on the show. But it's kind of a sweet reunion, right? We get to see them. He says to her, I like your hair. And she says, you got skinny. He's not that skinny, by the way. So
he's a giant. But yeah, beautiful reunion. And I'm glad we could get something really sweet like that because we've been looking forward to it for so long.
I also like the fact that they are alone in the room after he gets debriefed, and she could do a little debriefing of her own, if you know what I'm saying. But instead, she's just like, make sure you guys keep it quiet in there, like, because of your reunion. And she's just like, we got to go save that kid. Like, they barely kiss before they're back on the road again.
I thought that's what that lady was insinuating. Be quiet in there, but he's a sextant for you.
That's right. Yeah. So they have a lot of catching up to do as they call out here. And yeah, like you mentioned, they go to take care of the Gary situation, which I really don't understand that. So they go back to get Bean. I don't even understand why they needed to drag this out. I guess the only explanation here, I think, is that we have mentioned multiple times that Dan Fogelman's version of The Walking Dead basically is like the opposite of The Walking Dead, where people are not just absolute monsters to each other and they humanize Gary, and Gary's not like some psychopath now. And even Terry shows him some grace, and Xavier trusts her and doesn't kill him. But yeah, none of that would have played out that way. But still, I take that point because honestly, it's the only purpose that serves, because you can imagine Bean could have run away from crazy Gary. They obviously wouldn't have killed him at the train line. They could have been together, and she could have been like, I knew Gary had flipped his lid. And we could just see Gary like crying by himself, alone back in, and that's more what would have happened. The idea of going back there and all that seems pretty crazy.
Yep, got to agree. Yeah, it was just pointless to me. I mean, and what, you're letting Gary go, and he's reformed now, even though he killed his best mate, and even though he almost killed Xavier not 5 minutes ago.
Exactly.
But they kind of just let it go. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Meanwhile, back in Paradise, a lot of stuff is going on here, right? We have, what do we have here? We have at least 4 things going on here, right? We have, just remember, I'm just looking at my notes, and this is making me laugh. We have Hadley has buddied up with Presley, and she's just like, oh, I can find out where they're holding your boyfriend because I can just get onto my mom. It's like when she said that, it seemed like she had some kind of inside knowledge, like she's been snooping around. But no, she's just like, let's go snoop around on my mom's Commodore 64 computer. And she is, oh, don't worry, I know the password. It's my brother's birthday. And they get in there and they start like clicking around. Oh, I don't know. I went down there when I was a little kid. Let's go. I bet you that's where they are, right? So this seems like a lot more just very odd that it wouldn't be like I in my head last week was assuming this girl's like, I was curious at what was going on. I knew how to get into my mom's computer. I didn't want her to know I was in there. And she has been snooping around, not this kind of weird, I think I can find my way around here. And that also that Sinatra has this completely unsecured computer with just a very basic password with that can control like everything in the location. All of this is very silly, to be honest.
Yes, but the password is only there for us to remember her dead son, Dylan, again.
Oh my God. So
see that again.
That's my question to you. So when we see her with her husband for like maybe the second time ever in this entire series and show,
yeah.
and
Hot
the guy's like jacked, like who and I honestly did not recognize it as her husband. I was like, is that like one of her bodyguards and they're going to have sex with each other? No, it's her husband. That's her husband? Really? I don't remember him looking that, his arms didn't look that big when I saw him before. But the whole thing, so here's my question. This is what I was trying to get to. So as soon as they're like, he would have been 26 now, I'm like, oh my God, it's Link. So my question to you is, at what point in the episode did you know? Was it then, or was it when you saw them key in his birth date? At what point were you onto this whole thing?
Embarrassingly, it was not until the end reveal. Because I just couldn't believe that they would do that.
I literally thought that, by the way. Like in my head, it was so distracting as I watched the film of the series. I mean, the episode, because at the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, it's Link, right? And then it was so distracting. Like it's better off if it had been a gut punch at the end. Because the whole time I'm like, so was he bored? And then or is he from an alternate timeline? And does he remember? Did they fake his death and he remembers? I had so many questions the whole time. So it just distracted the whole rest of the episode. I was just trying to piece it together.
That is extremely distracting. Yeah. No, I didn't tweak it till right towards the end, but I did. Thinking back, I did like the joke about Vader.
Yes.
Lord Vader. Yeah, which must have been hilarious if you had known.
Yeah, you're Vader, by the way. In this analogy, you're Vader. Oh, but also we see, related to all of this, a flashback again. Cool to have the flashback so we can see Cal, we see Marsden back in the show, walking around. They're showing him around. Here's how the system works. This is setting something up, of course, by the way. Of course, everything is a setup for something else. But I liked him walking around being like, you got to dumb this down. You got to dumb it down even more. And then they're like, cleans water, cleans air, makes air breathable.
That makes so much sense. And they can do the tour so quickly. He dumbs it down like
speed it up, right? Exactly. What do I need to know the details about? And then of course he's like, where's the clicky thing? Like the button that pushes that, which of course they're like, oh yes, we do have that. A clicky thing? This seems a little more complicated. You need a more complex, you need at least one of those Xbox controllers.
Yeah. Great to have Marsden back. Yeah. And he steals it all, doesn't he? Even they've got to have the flashbacks to include him somehow. Although now they've got time travel, they could bring him back in season 3.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, he does one season of their Your Friends and Neighbors, I should say. And then maybe he leaves that show. And then, like you said, okay, she can change the past. So maybe she changes it where Cal's still around. And of course, he's like a dum-dum here, but he makes maybe the most interesting observation here, which is like that all these great empires that collapsed did not collapse because they were weak and starved. They were very high on the horse. They're very full of their own, they were high on their own supply when things go bad, which I think maybe is what they're trying to illustrate here in the fact that they have all these redundancies, they have all these plans in place, which is perhaps the downfall of the very thing that they're trying to preserve. So he's not as dumb as he looks, basically.
It was a good little speech, and it almost describes Sinatra's attitude to it all.
Okay, so that's parallel 2. And then we have Robbie and Jane. So this is interesting. And I have so many questions about this whole situation. First of all, the fact that Robbie came right at Jane last week was insane, as we talked about. She's waking up in the middle of the night, freaked out that Jane might be in her apartment. And honestly, Jane could kill her at any time. And she even goes and puts her thumb in it again when she is in the board of directors meeting or whatever that council is. And is, no, she shouldn't go out. Jane shouldn't go back out. You need to have other people around you so it doesn't look like you're just so shorthanded. And Jane doesn't like any of that. And then, of course, Robbie goes to Sinatra to say, I think she wants to kill me. And Sinatra goes, no, you're fine. That girl doesn't do anything. She doesn't make a move unless I tell her to. But Jane has got plans of her own.
And Sinatra saying that basically means that she just revealed that she killed the president.
The vice president. Yeah.
the interim president.
Acting president, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she calls her out on it. She goes, are you saying what I think you're saying? Pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I wasn't as on board with this storyline either. Robbie peeking out her blinds at the street, looking to see if Jane's looking. And then we see Jane peeking out across the street from another house. And so she's biding her time for some reason to kill her. For some reason, she's waiting. I don't know why she couldn't do it straight away.
Exactly. She could have killed her
at
right away.
any moment.
Right. And she's also like, I'm here to drive you. And she's like, oh, no, I'll drive myself or I'll walk, whatever. And all of this is very silly. Like you said, she could have easily just killed her at any time. Maybe she was waiting for the Sinatra reveal, but she took things in her own. Well, I guess she was actually sicked onto the vice president killing the VP or the acting president. So I guess she hasn't actually just killed of her own accord. So that would be a little bit different. So maybe Sinatra is right that she's only acted up until now, at least that she knows of. But
so
this didn't really work for me.
No, do you think Sinatra did put her onto Robbie at the end of the episode?
No, I don't think so. I think that I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so. We just see that moment where she gets humiliated or she reads it that way. And Sinatra goes, no, she's right. You need to step away. And then Jane is like tracking her. I like the little moving tracker that would have her name on it. I think we can figure this out, guys. We know what she's doing, okay?
But she does underestimate Robbie and falls for the old the empty shower trick. I mean, come on, really.
And she gets stabbed in the back. Now, do you think Jane is dead here? I mean, she needs to get a few more licks in, I think, to be sure that Jane is actually dead.
It was one stab in the back. I mean, they could definitely kill you or definitely paralyze you. But
definitely, yes.
It's Jane. We just had a whole episode with her name on it. Do we really just get rid of her straight away? I can't see that happening, but...
You say that, but they had an episode of Billy last season. They killed him the very next episode. So, I mean, it's possible.
Oh, interesting. But you've got to do the finishing move on these villains, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Stab them once. You've got to, we just saw Scream. You got to shoot him in the head.
Shoot him in the head, for sure. Absolutely. Pick up her gun and shoot her in the head. It's the only way. Yeah. And by the way, this whole thing is a little silly. I did like her stabbing her in the back. I don't like Jane as a character, so I actually want her to die here. And if you could rewind time, she can even come back if they really want to. But I do want her to be put aside. She's been kind of annoying. The way they've used her, I think the actress is fine. I just think the way they used her has been irritating here. But all the scene, because I'm already irritated, then like the stabbing in the back, and then she goes and like sits on her bed. I'm like, get out of there, finish her off, do something. Go, when you get a nap, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but people have come back from worse in this show. I mean, Sinatra got shot in the neck or the heart, and she's come back. Yep. So, I don't have high hopes that Jane is gone for good.
I know. She's going to wake up the next morning. But I mean, minimally, this is probably what's going to happen, that she'll get up later or check on her or tell Sinatra, and then she's gone because she's probably injured so badly. She's like Michael Myers. She needs to go like rehabilitate for a little bit.
Yeah, she'll be fine. And
then, of course, the whole situation with Alex outside. He wants to come inside. And some of this I really liked. Sinatra feels the sun for the first time. I like that moment where you see her hand. But then this weird thing where her hand is glitching, which I didn't like. But if she just kind of held her hand out and felt the sun, I would have liked that a little bit better.
Well, yeah, I mean, does the glitching have to do with the time travel stuff? Possibly. But yeah, I would have liked it if it didn't glitch like that. But I thought that was meaning something else, because later on in that episode, when she's in bed with her husband, or was it earlier, she's glitching as well in bed. So yeah, I think there's something to do with that. But I did like that image of her hand in the sun.
She gets a nosebleed too. So this is the fourth nosebleed I think we've seen. So again, my theory, which I haven't needed to bring up again because it hasn't happened since the third episode, I think. But we saw 4 people with nose. Oh, this is the fourth person you see with a nosebleed.
Yeah.
So again, my theory that this is like some kind of decision point or some kind of merge of alternate selves. So that's another decision point there where she discovers that, I'm kind of jumping ahead here through the whole conversation, but she discovers that Link is her son when one of his compatriots calls him Dylan. She's like, your name is Dylan? Which is weird too, that, in this alternate version of Dylan, that he would have the same name and the same birthday, or that he would know his birthday, because I don't know how he would know that, but I have so many questions. Like how this person could be alive in the same timeline. I guess they have a lot of explaining to do next week.
Well, they seeded it all throughout, which I didn't pick up any of the seeds, and then they dropped it. And now we just have more and more questions of how, why, where. So he got a nosebleed just before Sinatra got her nosebleed. And then I think at the end, Xavier gets another nosebleed on the train as well, and he starts glitching too. So yes, I'd be really interested in finding out why these things happen, because one episode to go and there's just so many questions.
Oh, and a couple of things I need to bring up. Of course, importantly, we got to dig into this scene some more, but I forgot to mention that Robbie has already gone to Sinatra. And again, I don't understand Robbie's way of operating here at all. She has a hidden microphone in the woman's home. She knows about Alex. She knows about Jane, and she goes up to Jane and is like, I know you're a serial killer. I'm alone in a room with you, and I assume you're not going to kill me. Bad move. And then, of course, having night terrors because she thinks that the serial killer is trying to kill her. Not a stretch. And then she goes to Sinatra and is like, I know you're trying to murder me, but back her off. I'll work with you. And Sinatra's like, okay, I won't kill you anymore. Let's work together again. And she's like, tell me about Alex. And Sinatra immediately is like, oh, maybe you are my kill list again. What is this woman doing? This is not the way. She's not a spy, let's say. She wants to tell everybody, maybe it's because she's a therapist. She wants to tell everybody everything that's going on with her, rather than being like, you got to keep that stuff under your hat until you dig around and get some evidence and bring in some co-conspirators. You don't just go up to the person who you suspect and being like, I know you killed that person. Whoa, why did I confront you when we were alone? Oh, bad idea.
Yeah, I do wonder whether that character is there just to help the exposition a bit and to catch people up if they've been missing out on important points. But yeah, I'm with you. It's just bemusing the way that she's acting.
And then, of course, importantly, that when Link talks to Sinatra, at first I thought that I was suspecting that he knew that he was her son because he knows about the Alex project. He invented the Alex technology, apparently, or at least was importantly had some grand part of it. He even kind of hints at that when she says, I'm not going to let you take away what I built. And he's like, you didn't build that, because of course we know from the flashback that he was working with this entanglement device with that same scientist who saved his life, that whole confrontation with Billy, or Billy did not shooting him in the flashback. So all of that is to say that I was like, oh, maybe he's used the device or he understands how it works. So he would maybe know who Sinatra was. And he's here to be like, guess what, mommy? You're my mom. But no, he seems to be totally ignorant to that. So this version of him has not worked with the Alex machine, but knows what it is. And of course, this is the second time Sinatra heard someone walk in and be like, I'm here for Alex. And she's like, how does everybody know about Alex? And yeah, there's some kind of Star Wars references in there, which were kind of fun. The other thing I have to ask you is he wants to go onto the president's plane. Very much seems to be intentional. And then he wants one of those pens. What? And then he steals one. What the hell does the pen have to do with any of this?
So many questions again. Maybe Carl's his dad. Maybe he's the president's son. Yeah, who? I don't know. I thought it was fun going on to Air Force One to have the little meeting.
Yes.
I thought that was great. Steal the pen. I just thought it was a fun little thing, but you're hinting that it's maybe something more, which with this show, anything is possible. But yeah, I'm still a bit embarrassed I didn't pick up any of these references until the son Dylan was dropped. But yeah, I like the character and I like the actor. I did think it was funny how he wanted the apple pie. He didn't think it was poisoned or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though there was so many close-ups of this apple pie that I thought it must have been poisoned.
Every time he puts it down and they pick it back up. And then that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I actually thought. Here's where I'm overthinking the twist, which you didn't pick up on. I'm overthinking it this is what I was predicting. Very much more melodramatic, but not surprising given the show we're watching. I thought she had poisoned it and that he would be like dying on the floor and he would be like, Mom. And she would be like, oh my God. And then she would like run to Alex and have to rewind things. I'm like, oh my God, you have to, choose your own adventure to a different timeline because I just killed my son.
Perfect. Of course, that could have happened.
I would have preferred that, honestly.
And that could have worked, but maybe, in this world, that those types of things don't happen. I did like that he just wanted to eat the apple pie because he wanted to be cool like Brad Pitt. And then he's like, is Brad Pitt in here?
Yeah, exactly. But also, he is very observant. He's like, bring me a slice of apple pie. And he made the Brad Pitt reference, which was really fun and clever for sure. And one of my favorite things is when Brad Pitt is constantly eating in a movie. But the other thing that is, he actually explains something about you guys, you have real apples. So he's breaking down like the quality of the apple pie. It's not like some kind of frozen apple pie made out of some weird substitute that's been thought out. This was a made apple pie. So he knows the level of amenities they have there based on that, which I thought was a pretty clever reveal. That his understanding of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you trust what he's wanting? So he's wanting one of these modular nuclear reactors to help his 10,000 people, that little village that he's got going. But I don't believe that for a second.
No, I think she sees through that too. And he pretty much, I think it's pretty clear that what he actually wants. He gets like that grin on his face and he's like, I'm here for Alex.
To destroy Alex or to use Alex to restart the world, or who knows?
Well, he said he wants to kill Alex, was what he had actually said in an earlier episode. But now that could be what he's telling his followers, and he wants to use it for some other purpose. Who knows, right?
Yes. And just thinking, so the baby that Xavier has possibly got on the train is Sinatra's grandchild.
Grandchild, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll play into it somehow. And she never got to meet poor old Shailene Woodley, who was such a lovely character.
Well, we never know. Everyone can come back from the dead now. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
Then it'll really be a zombie show, a different kind of zombie show. Before we get to the end, because there's a whole other subplot I have to dig into here that I forgot about, I did want to bring up a particular point that I forgot. Oh, I remember. Luckily, I remember. So he calls us out again in this episode, and we saw it in the flashback episode with Terry, where Terry's talking to the survivors. And they're like, I can't believe that this happened. And no less that we did this to ourselves. And then again, Link basically says that people like you are the ones who destroyed the world. And I'm like, wasn't this a caldera that exploded in the Antarctic? Why are people saying this is man-made? Are we supposed to believe like the ice sheet melted or something? And that's what caused the caldera? Did I miss something in last season?
I thought it was completely environmental and that we did nothing to cause it. Yeah. But you could say that maybe our level of pollution and land use has caused the Earth to heat and this to happen. But I thought it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, but there's a couple of references here like that people did this to themselves. And I'm like, did we? I don't know. I mean, we might cause global warming. I mean, we are causing global warming. I'm like, we could cause truly catastrophic global warming. But in this particular case, I thought this, like you said, I thought this was just a giant volcano erupting. How could we control that?
Yeah, unless her time travel machine has caused other things to happen, or maybe this has caused this to happen.
So a couple of things when we get to the end here. One is this thing I forgot to mention, of course, is that not only are Presley and Hadley, is that her name, are heading down towards the underground where the prison is held, at bottom floor, that we saw them escaping yesterday. So Robinson and Cal's son, as well as the scientist, are all heading out. And we already had that very convenient that if you convince the machine that the oxygen is running out in the dome, that all the doors pop open. Which is not a great plan because, we'd said, what if there's a virus outside or some, what if there's nuclear winter outside and toxic air and nitrogen atmosphere, all things that we should probably consider before we just popping the doors open. But apparently that's the fail-safe for whatever reason. So they're heading towards each other. And the plan is to make this catastrophe happen. I should say to convince the machine that the oxygen is running out in the dome, and that'll force the doors open. And then there's a direct reference to this, that the council is freaking out. Sinatra is not available to make a decision. She has gotten frisky. She's talking about how she hasn't been frisky since her son died 26 years ago, but somehow they had a teenage daughter anyway. But now she jumps on top of her husband and tells him that Dylan's okay somehow in this world. Definitely something she's done, manipulating Alex. And there's like this 1 in a million chance that something could go wrong. 2 catastrophic things happening simultaneously in the paradise, in this underground bunker, that would cause a nuclear meltdown. And it seems like somebody has orchestrated this, because the 1 in a million thing that could happen is happening at this moment when they go into complete lockdown, at the very moment when the override is trying to open things up. And immediately the nuclear reactor is superheated. They're about to have a nuclear meltdown in here. The people outside are about to storm in. Doors about to pop open. And Sinatra does not care. She gets this train down into a deeper level to say, hello, Alex. I'm about to say Alexa. Hello, Alexa. No free promotions there. I just activated everybody's Alexa machines. I apologize. Hello, Alex. And so what is she doing? What do you predict? Do you think this nuclear meltdown is going to happen next week? What do you think is going to happen next week? What do you want to happen next week?
What do I want to happen? Yeah, I mean, I want some answers on what Alex is and what it can do, because it could go anywhere. So we're led to believe that so everything's stuck, right? The doors are supposed to close and open at the same time,
right?
But nothing's going to happen. So are these doors permanently shut, closed? That means that everybody else cannot storm in and free the people of paradise, and the people of paradise are going to all die from oxygen deprivation. I don't think that will happen, but I just would love to see what Alex looks like. It's a nice, beautiful light on Sinatra as she enters the machine or greets the machine or tries to do something. That's why I was thinking that the invention of Alex maybe caused the Caldera in Earth, and she did maybe destroy the world to create this other world, or who knows.
Just to bring her son back.
Yeah, just to bring her son back. Yeah, exactly. So the whole show is about grief and trying to go back in time to bring, but even though she's got a beautiful daughter that's come from nowhere and is helping Presley do something, but they're not really doing anything. They're just stuck in a lift at the moment.
Right.
So we're going to get some big cliffhangers next week, I think. I don't think barely any of our answers are going to be satisfactory, and we're all just going to have to wait for season 3.
Yeah, I predicted this very early on when we first saw the Nosebleeds, and we saw those flashbacks where Xavier and Link are making eye contact, like Link looks over his shoulder, and then he's like, I think I'm remembering things that haven't happened yet. So first of all, they're on a train. Must be a pretty fast moving train if they're going to get there before this nuclear meltdown occurs, because I figure this is a relatively small window. Sinatra's probably going to be MIA because she is down trying to make something happen down in with the Alex the machine, because now she's gotten the results she wanted, but she's very close. But maybe the nuclear. But see, that's the thing is the nuclear meltdown seems like it needs to be occurring because they're literally saying that, well, the odds of this and this happening at the same time are infinitesimal. So it's as if someone has orchestrated this infinitesimal thing from happening to have a nuclear breakdown in meltdown, I should say, in paradise. I'm not sure if that's the case, but we do know that Link, and I would assume, maybe I'm wrong about this, by the way, it could be maybe next season, but I would assume at the end of this season, we have Link and Xavier heading down that tunnel to the Alex device, and somehow they are going to jump into another point in time. The people with the nosebleeds are time travelers of some kind. And maybe, and this would be very frustrating, to be honest with you, maybe we're so close to getting this right, you now have to go back and make some tweaks, and then we'll get it right next time. But that would be very frustrating, I think, if that's the case. But then,
Yes,
hey, we have the chance, right?
interesting.
You have Link. Think about the nosebleed moments. You have the chance where Xavier can choose to go to Graceland. You have Link back with Annie. So maybe she comes back for next season if he stays with her, for example, or brings her with him, right? But yeah, there's opportunities there for things to change. So, and of course, Sinatra's in this loop for sure. We know that for sure.
And there was a nosebleed to do with the car accident that let Terry go with Gary the mailman, wasn't there? I think there was.
I think we speculated on that. I don't know if that was actually true.
Okay.
We might have overrode that. Yeah. But let's say it's true. Let's say that.
So it's all working together to bring these people in the same place at the same time. But so Cal's big speech about the Roman Empire and everything happening together in this culmination, you could take that one of two ways, that yes, it is all happening together in the dome to the doom of all these people in paradise, or that Sinatra has to organize everything to the second for her to be able to create her great plan of what? Bringing her son back and being happy families again? Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
I'm not sure either. So there's enough mystery here that, I mean, I am very intrigued to know how this lands, but I don't think the quality of this season is as good as last season. We obviously have not seen anything close to an episode like The Day, for example, last year, but I am very curious to know how this plays out next week. So I'm definitely can't wait to see what happens.
Good. I'm very curious as well, but I'm a little apprehensive that it's not going to be satisfying and it's going to be a lot of hand wavy stuff, and that there's just going to be more questions like, hang on, how does that make sense? But hopefully that these guys know what they're doing, and yeah, it will all come together next week for a fantastic finale. Let's hope.
Let's hope. Yeah, that what I was saying that I don't want to see, and I kind of talked about like just having that rewind. Worse than that. So that is not the ending I'd like to see for season 2, but worse than that would be just and this has happened many times before, by the way, the whole like non-ending where it's just like they all arrive and they're like, let's confront Sinatra. See you next season. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Nope.
Like a setup to a non-ending. No, don't do that. So that would be the worst. That would be the worst. But the second worst would just be like, hey, let's replay this season again. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I really want that, but we will, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, look, give us something, because I'm not a big fan at all of these finales that go, can't wait till next season. No, I want something that could be a complete finish for the whole series right next week. That's what I want. And then a bonus is the third season to go in deeper. But yeah, I'm a bit apprehensive, I've got to say, Victor.
Yep. Yeah. My confidence not super high. Okay, a couple of things I wanted to shout out, that just kind of a viewer shout out for just upcoming events and things that you might have missed that you want to check out. One thing that came out on Netflix, I guess this is a big event if you are a huge fan of Peaky Blinders, but I gave up on Peaky Blinders in season 2. Did you watch all of Peaky Blinders by chance?
I did not. I think I saw the pilot and went, wow, yeah, that's great, but didn't pull me in, no.
Anyway, the movie, which played in theaters very briefly, is now on Netflix. And I assume it's a big deal because it was a very popular show back in the day. And so just a reminder, if you are a Peaky Blinders fan, I probably won't watch this movie. I might sample it to see just as a movie if it's watchable, if you haven't followed the series, because I quit after season. I didn't think I even finished season 2, maybe most of the way through season 2. The next question I have for you, Darren, is did you watch the Daredevil Born Again season 1?
So this is the latest reboot of Daredevil, is that right?
Yes.
So yeah, I watched a few episodes and I thought it was fine for what it was, but it didn't grab me to watch all the episodes. But I thought it was interesting to see how they were trying to reboot it. Yeah.
It was fine. I watched this. I enjoyed it. For me, pretty disposable. Like, I didn't find it essential viewing either. But I think I probably, like you, watched half the season. And then I did binge the last 3 or 4. It was a pretty short season. So I probably watched the last 3 or 4 episodes in one shot over a weekend or so. Anyway, I bring that all up because kind of, again, pretty quietly, there's so many things coming out that it's hard to keep track of it all. This Tuesday, season 2 of Daredevil comes back. So if you guys are fans, we have yet another season of that ramping up
it's back.
Week. Yep.
Tell me, is the Punisher in this one?
I think if you didn't see season 1, I would have to assume like he has to be in this one. He's in the new Spider-Man movie. Did you notice that in the trailer?
That's why I brought this up, because I saw the trailer for the new Spider-Man Brand New Day or something. And the guy, I forget the actor's name, but he plays the Punisher again in this. Yeah.
Barenthal, John Barenthal.
John Barenthal, yes. I love seeing him. He's always such a strong screen presence. And to see him get his ass kicked by Spider-Man was funny.
Yeah. And like I said, he gets a decent amount of screen time, maybe 2 episodes where he's in a lot of last season. But the way he wraps up last season, it seems like he's going to be a much bigger part of season 2. But maybe they were just setting him up for Spider-Man. So I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, because the Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is in the Spider-Man world in the Marvel films as well, I think. So perhaps we'll see Daredevil in that movie too.
Also this Tuesday, by the way, if you haven't seen Send Help yet, anybody, and wanted to see that, it's coming. This is in the US. Check your different markets for different dates. But Send Help, the Sam Raimi surprise hit from earlier this year, is coming home, and we've talked about it here in a podcast, both big fans of it. Surat is coming out, the Academy Award nominated Best Foreign Language Film. Very interesting film, pretty rough. It's a bit of a downer, but really, this is the one I recommended to you, Darren, because of the use of music in this rave out in the desert, which I thought you might appreciate.
Yeah,
and
still haven't caught up with that, but yeah, super keen to catch up with that. I've heard differing opinions of this film, but yeah, I'm really keen to see it.
It's very well made. I have issues with it as well. Some people think this is like a masterpiece. I have issues with it, but it's a good film, an interesting film, definitely one that you'd want to talk to someone about. So if you do, check it out. I thought, like I said, specifically for you, I think you would appreciate it. Oh, and lastly, this is a recommendation for anybody who, if this pertains to you. First of all, the movie, I've recommended it to you already, Darren. I thought it was coming out last week. For some reason, they bumped it this week. I'm sure I'm just going to announce it now, but I'm sure we'll dig into it when it becomes available to stream somewhere on Hulu or wherever it's going to end up on. But there's a movie from a comedy troupe from Canada that broke out in a big way a few years back with the Blackberry movie, same director, and star.
I love that film.
I didn't love that film, to be honest, but we could talk about that at some future point as well. But very well made. And the film, based on a comedy sketch show that these guys had years ago, before they made these other movies, is called Nirvana, the Band, the Show. That was the name of the show, but it's called Nirvana, the Band, the Show, the movie. And what I would tell everybody is, do not know anything about this movie. Nothing about this movie. Don't even read the 1-sentence description on Letterboxd. It gives away too much. And what I would say is, if you are like me, grew up, and you had a nerdy group of friends, and you're always like trying to start a band or make a movie, or maybe make a movie and start a band, and that was kind of your fantasy at the time, and you either grew up in the 80s or you loved the like sci-fi movies specifically of the 80s and really like fetishized that stuff, this movie, there's like a 25% chance or better that this movie will be one of your favorite movies of all times. And all I will say is that this movie is shot like a fake documentary. You have to assume it was shot on relatively small budget, given the means they had. Although these people are famous in Toronto, only famous in Toronto. So I guess they probably recognizable there. So they probably got some access. And the reason I mentioned this is, Darren, within like 10 minutes of this movie starting, you're going to be like, how the hell did these guys make this movie? Like, how is it possible that these guys were able to pull off the things they're doing? It is like watching a magic trick, and then they just keep one-upping themselves. And you're like, what the hell? Like, how? It's a miracle. You're like, how is this possible? And like I said, if you had a fantasy that not only that you were those people, but that you shot 20 years ago or so, half of a fake movie, and that somehow you can reappropriate that material now. And like I said, the whole thing is like a miracle. And it is one of the most hysterically funny movies I've ever seen. And I know that sounds like, what the hell is he talking about? Honestly, just watch this movie. Don't know anything about it. And
You've said too much already.
It is so funny, and it is so clever, and yeah, it's fantastic. And so when you get a chance to see this, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, do check it out. And yeah, like I said, it'll be available to rent this week in the US. Around the world, I'm sure it'll be releasing around the same time or soon. And when this is available to stream, Darren, whether you watch it ahead of time or not, whenever that day is, we definitely have to talk about this movie, because this movie is such a blast. It is one of the funniest comedies I've seen in a decade, probably.
I'm so intrigued. I saw that text that you sent me and I was like, I need to see this straight away. There's no screenings for it here. I couldn't find it online anywhere. So yeah, as soon as it comes out, I'm going to be onto it, because you're talking it up, mate. So I'm very interested to see if it delivers. And like you, I know nothing about it. I saw the title and I realized it's from a sketch comedy group or something. That's all I know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, on one hand, I worry that I'm overselling it in some ways, but like I mentioned before, there's something that happens about not even 10 minutes into this movie, and you're like, what? It is jaw dropping. And then you're on the hook for the whole rest of the film. It's incredible. So highly, highly recommended. What a blast. What a blast. And yeah, I mentioned it to you last week because it was supposed to be released for rental last week. They delayed it for a week. I don't know why, but it is coming out. I did double check on all the streaming platforms. It shows rental this week. So this Tuesday. And it will definitely, this is one of those films, I guarantee you, when this thing like eventually ends up on Netflix, it will be one of those small films that eventually is like in the top 5 on Netflix for like weeks at a time. And millions of people will watch it, and it'll be like a word of mouth hit, and great for them. And by the way, they were already very well respected coming off of the Blackberry movie that got a lot of awards, nominated for Best Canadian Film. So they kind of broke through already there. And this is very different than that. It's not even making a pretense of being prestige. It is just like them just trying to one up their gags one over the other, and to an astounding effect. But yeah, it's, I can't wait to see what these guys do next. All right. That's my last recommendation for the week. And yeah, and let's check out again, something really bad is going to happen. Check that out on Thursday, and we'll have our opinion of the finale of Paradise and that series as well.
Excellent. All right. Yep. A lot of homework to do. I have been catching up on DTF as well. So I think I'm 3 episodes in. So I've been listening to your conversations with Sona, and that's added a whole lot of information too. So that's great. And I'm enjoying it so far, even though I am a little bit mystified at the way they're going about things, but I enjoy the way that it's shot. It's very filmic. I like the way that it's shot. It's very cool. I love Linda Cardinelli, even though I don't believe her character, or the way that they're portraying her character, is a little bit mystifying. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the 4th episode.
I think intentionally, and I'll tell you that we just had that conversation about the 4th episode. We loved, I mean, even me more so, but both of us, Sona and I both, but especially me, I loved the 4th episode. So I am like totally on board. I was kind of like, I don't know if this show's really pulling off what it's trying to do. I'm 100% on board after episode 4. So can't wait to get your reaction to that.
Excellent. Oh, good, because very interesting series, very mystifying the way that it goes about it. And also, I think it's hilarious that it always warns me that there's full frontal nudity in every episode, which I'm like,
because it's the same magazine, right? Over and over again. Well, at least it's not like the scene in The Chair Company. That was more shocking than this one.
Oh my God. I think I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about that scene.
Like to Robbie, we're waking up thinking that.
Oh, Chair Company.
That's coming back. Yeah, that we'll have to cover that when it comes back.
Amazing. Yeah, brilliant. I'll cover everything that guy does because it's just so bizarre.
All right, Darren, thanks again for the conversation and so many things. Well, I'll probably have to have some separate segment where we just break down what's coming out in April. Just, it's incredible, the amount of stuff that's coming out, but we'll save that for another time.
Epic. Just like your podcast every week, there's at least 3 coming out, 3 or 4.
I know
6.
it's too much. It's too much, right? Yeah. I think, I don't know if people are getting sick of this or not. I mean, our downloads are going up, so maybe we just have to do one a day and we'll really break through.
Brilliant. That's the plan. That's the goal.
All right. Thanks again, Darren.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.